I'm Rose Larson, and I've always been the one who holds things together. Growing up in Silverton, Oregon, a small town where everyone knows your business, I learned early that family isn't just blood, it's the weight you carry. My dad, Greg, was a logger until the bottle took his steady hands. My mom, Cheryl, chased the idea of a perfect life, posting selfies while bills piled up.
Me?
I started working at 15, hauling lumber at the hardware store, then flipping burgers at the diner down on Main. Every paycheck went to keeping the lights on, the fridge stocked, and my grandpa Walt smiling. He's the one who taught me how to cast a fishing line and laugh through the hard days, even when his arthritis made it tough to hold a rod. That Christmas Eve, I pulled into the driveway of our old craftsman house, the one with a sagging porch and peeling paint. Frost crunched under my tires, and I expected to see the glow of string lights, maybe the smell of Walt's famous cider drifting out. Instead, the house was a shadow, no warmth, no music, just silence pressing against the windows like a stranger. I sat in my beat-up Honda, gripping the wheel, wondering if I'd mixed up the date. But no, it was December 24th, and I was supposed to be home. I grabbed my duffel and climbed the steps, fishing the spare key from under the chipped garden gnome Walt swore was too ugly to steal. The door creaked open, and the house felt hollow, like it was holding its breath. The fridge hummed faintly, the only sound besides the heater's weak click. A dim light spilled from the kitchen, and there was Walt, hunched over a sandwich that looked more like a surrender than a meal. His eyes, tired but kind, met mine. "You're here, Rose," he said, like I was late for a promise. "Where's everyone?" I asked, dropping my bag. He nodded toward the fridge, his hands trembling around a glass of water. "They left a note." My boots felt heavy as I crossed the room. Taped to the fridge was a scrap of notebook paper, Cheryl's handwriting jagged and rushed. "Used your money for crypto. In Bahamas. Watch, Grandpa. Explain later." I read it twice, then 3 times, each word sinking deeper, like a blade finding bone. $24,000. 4 years of double shifts, skipped weekends, and ramen dinners gone. I'd saved it to keep us afloat, to maybe one day get out of Silverton, to give Walt the care he deserved. And they'd taken it, like it was theirs to spend. I sat across from Walt, the note crumpled in my fist. "They went to the Bahamas," he said softly, like he was apologizing. "Left yesterday." His sandwich was just bread and mustard, the kind of meal you make when you've given up. I opened the fridge. Half a loaf of bread, a jar of pickles, no milk, no leftovers. A final notice from the electric company sat by the toaster, unopened. "Have you eaten anything else?" I asked, pointing at his plate. His eyes dropped. "Not much this week." My chest burned, but I swallowed the scream. "Not yet." I looked at Walt, his shoulders frail under his flannel shirt, and felt something shift. Anger, yes, but something sharper, like purpose. "All right," I said, pulling out my phone. "First, we're getting you a real meal. Then I'm finding out how deep this goes." As I stirred oats and sliced an apple for Walt's favorite oatmeal, my hand shook, not just from rage but from the weight of what I'd lost and what I was about to fight for. I've never been one for self-pity, but sitting in that cold kitchen, stirring oatmeal for Walt while the note burned a hole in my pocket, I couldn't help but trace the years that led here. I was 15 when Dad's drinking cost him his logging job. The mill shut down, and he drowned his pride in whiskey, leaving Mom to scrape by on her receptionist gig at the dental office. Her pay covered coffee runs and Instagram filters, not groceries. So I stepped up, hauling crates at Silverton Hardware, then picking up night shifts at Rosie's Diner. I smelled like sawdust and fryer grease, but every dollar went to the family, bills, gas, Walt's heart meds that I missed, homecoming dances, football games, all the stuff my friends posted about with hashtags like #bestlife. While they spun under fairy lights, I was scrubbing counters or folding laundry in the diner's back room, counting tips to cover the water bill. I didn't go to prom, too busy working doubles. But I told myself it was fine. I was the strong one, the one who kept the roof over our heads. Walt would sit with me sometimes, sharing stories of fixing cars in his old shop, his hand steady then, not like now. "You're tougher than I ever was, Rose," he'd say, and I'd smile. Even if I felt like breaking, my sister, Kaylee, lived in a different world. 6 years younger, she got new sneakers, a glittery phone case, and a birthday party with a custom cake when she turned 16. I got a secondhand backpack and a stack of overdue notices. "Kaylee's sensitive," Mom would say, like it excused everything. "She can't handle stress like you." So I carried it flu season, finals, all of it, while Kaylee posted selfies and never asked where the money came from. I told myself it didn't matter. Some people carry more because they can. The worst part? I trusted Mom. When I opened my first savings account at 16, proud of my $200 deposit from a month of shifts, she took me for ice cream and said, "Banks prey on kids like you, Rose. Transfer it to our family account. I'll keep it safe." I believed her. Every month, I sent more, $500, $700, sometimes $1,000 when I picked up extra hours. I drove a car that rattled like it was coughing up a lung, ate rice and beans, and skipped spring break trips. I thought I was building freedom, bit by bit, for me and Walt. But now, staring at that note, I realized I'd been building their escape instead. I set a bowl of oatmeal with honey and apples in front of Walt. He ate slowly, thanking me like I'd cooked a feast. I cleared the table, hiding my shaking hands in the sink's soapy water. I didn't want to face the truth yet, not while Walt looked so fragile. But when I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account, the numbers didn't lie. Final transfer 3 days ago to a crypto account I didn't recognize, listed under Greg and Cheryl Larson. Balance, $0. I closed the screen, my throat tight, and looked at Walt, asleep in his chair. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about who I'd let them make me. Walt's cough woke me the next morning, rough and brittle, like his lungs were scraping against themselves. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and found him in the kitchen, leaning hard on the counter, struggling to fill a glass of water. His hands shook so much the glass nearly slipped. I took it gently, guiding him to a chair. "Did you take your meds?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He looked away, like he was ashamed of the answer. "Ran out a couple days ago," he said. "Kaylee was supposed to pick them up, but she said she was too busy." I opened the cabinet where we kept his pill organizer. Empty. The pharmacy notice, circled in pink highlighter, sat under a pile of junk mail, 5 days past due. My stomach twisted. I walked through the house, taking stock. The fridge held 2 expired yogurts and a jar of pickles. The bread on the counter was speckled with mold. A stack of unopened bills by the door screamed "Final Notice" in red ink. Kaylee's jacket hung on the coat rack. Her makeup bag cluttered the bathroom counter, but any sign of care was gone. In her room, I found snack wrappers and an empty wine bottle under the nightstand. She'd been here, but not for Walt. Back at the kitchen table, I opened my laptop and pulled up 6 months of bank statements. The transfers were subtle at first. $200 for groceries that never showed up, $150 for family emergency. Then they grew bolder, $1,000 for investment, $2,000 for travel expenses. The dates matched too perfectly, a withdrawal when Kaylee got her new phone, another when Mom posted about a kitchen upgrade that never happened. My savings, my safety net, drained drop by drop, then all at once. "I'm sorry, Rose," Walt said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I should have told you." I looked up, startled. "You knew?" His eyes glistened. "Not at first. Last spring, they said they needed a loan for the house. Said they'd pay me back. Then it was Kaylee's car, Greg's debts. I stopped asking after a while. The ache in my chest sharpened. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd used Walt's trust, his pension, his kindness. I reached for his hand. "We're done asking," I said. "We're protecting what's left." I opened a new folder on my desktop. Accountability. Every receipt, every transfer, every lie went in there. I snapped photos of the fridge, the moldy bread, the overdue bills. I scanned Walt's pharmacy notice and the unopened prescription bag Kaylee ignored. They thought they could take everything and call it family. I was about to show them what family really meant that I didn't call them. Not when I saw the crypto transfer, not when I found Walt's empty pill organizer, not when I pulled an overdraft notice from under a pizza coupon. They knew what they'd done. They were banking on me to swallow it, to mop up their mess like always. Instead, I texted Tess and Gwyn, my college friend who'd seen me through the worst, nights when I'd crash on her couch after doubles, too tired to drive home. Now a paralegal in Portland, she had a knack for cutting through chaos. I sent her the whole story. The note, the $24,000, Walt's neglect. Her reply came in minutes. Get power of attorney for Walt. Now. I'm sending forms. I printed the documents at the Silverton Library, the hum of the printer steadying my nerves. Back home, I sat with Walt at the kitchen table, spreading the forms out like a map. He read every line, his glasses slipping down his nose. I should have done this sooner, he said, signing with a hand that shook but didn't waver. We got it notarized at the pharmacy that afternoon, where I also picked up Walt's meds. The tech raised an eyebrow when I asked if they'd been requested before. Someone tried with an expired ID, she said. I didn't need to ask who. That night, after Walt was asleep, I sat at the table with my laptop and a glass of water, making a list. Cancel joint access, open new accounts, document losses, cut contact until we had leverage. I checked Instagram. There they were, mom in a sundress, cocktail in hand, dad with a tacky resort towel slung over his shoulder. Bahamas vibes. Living our best life. The comments gushed with heart emojis. I screenshotted it, filed it under evidence, and kept moving to BY morning. I'd closed the account that held my savings, rerouted Walt's pension to a new bank, and locked the mailbox with a key only I had. I password protected his medical and utility portals, telling the pharmacist to flag anyone else trying to access his file. Each step felt like stacking bricks, building a wall they couldn't climb. When I finished, I looked at the folders on the table, bank records, legal forms, screenshots, and felt a flicker of something new. Control. They'd come back to a house they no longer owned. In every way that mattered. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with Dad's name. I let it ring, watching the screen like it might bite. He called again, then a third time. On the fourth, I answered, not because I wanted his excuses, but because I needed to hear how far he'd fallen. Rose, thank God, he said, voice ragged, like he'd been running. We need to talk. I stayed silent, letting the static crackle. The crypto market tanked, he rushed on. We didn't see it coming. It's complicated. We just need a little help to get through this week. We'll fix it, I swear. I heard waves in the background, maybe a pool fountain, and pictured him on a resort balcony, sunburned and desperate. We lost everything, he said, quieter now. The fun's gone. I glanced at Walt's bank folder on the table, every document sorted, every asset secured. I need to borrow enough to stabilize things, he added. We'll pay back. Temporary. My silence stretched longer. Rose, you there? I walked to the window, rain streaking the glass, the street empty except for a neighbor's toppled trash can. You knew that money wasn't yours, I said, my voice low but steady. He stammered. We were investing for all of us, your future too. It wasn't selfish. You thought I wouldn't notice. I cut in. Another pause. We don't have time to argue, he pleaded. Just send something. Please. I hung up. The phone felt heavy in my hand, but my heart didn't. For years, I'd answer their calls, fix their messes, believe their promises. Not anymore. That night, I printed a notice on my laptop. Access revoked. Unauthorized withdrawals documented. Repayment required. I attached copies of bank statements, the power of attorney, and a repayment plan, fixed payments, 5% interest, no excuses. I drove across town and taped it to their door, the porch light flickering like it knew what was coming. I didn't wait for the security camera to catch me. I just drove home, rain blurring the road, feeling lighter with every mile. The next morning, my phone pinged with a text from Mom. What is this? We need to talk. I didn't reply. They'd had their chance when they drained my account, when they left Walt with a half-eaten sandwich and no meds, when they chose a cruise over us. Instead, I focused on Walt. I scheduled a home visit with a new physician in Silverton. a kind woman who checked his heart and adjusted his prescriptions. Walt sat quietly, answering her questions, but his eyes kept finding mine, like he was checking I was still there. Later that day, we did a virtual tour of Willow Creek, an assisted living center in Portland. The rooms had big windows, cozy recliners, and a garden where Walt could sit and do his crosswords. "Looks peaceful," he said, folding his hands with a small nod. I booked his spot right then, my heart aching but certain. He deserved better than a house full of lies. I spent the afternoon sorting more evidence. Screenshots of Mom's texts, always calling me responsible like it was a leash. Bank transfers labeled family vacation that funded their Bahamas trip. Even Kaylee's Venmo requests for cute tops, while Walt's meds went unpicked. Each piece was another brick in the wall I was building, not to shut them out but to keep us safe. Tessa called to check in, her voice sharp with pride. "You're doing the right thing, Rose," she said. "They can't touch you now." That night, I sat with Walt in the living room, the TV off, just the hum of the heater filling the silence. He told me about meeting my grandma at a diner after her nursing shift, how she'd steal his fries and laugh like it was a heist. "You've got her spine," he said, his voice rough but warm. I smiled, my throat tight. I didn't say much, too focused on what came next. They were coming home tomorrow, and for the first time, I wasn't scared of what they'd bring through that door. They showed up early, before the sun had fully risen. Dad's pickup rumbled into the driveway, followed by Mom's sedan, both cars looking as tired as the people inside. No suitcases, no smiles, just a cloud of tension that hit me before they even knocked. I opened the door, my arms crossed, and Mom pushed past, her purse slamming onto the couch. Dad followed, clutching the envelope I'd taped to their door like it was a grenade. "What the hell is this, Rose?" he snapped, his voice sharp but unsteady. "You humiliated us," Mom said, her eyes flashing. "The neighbor saw this. You couldn't wait until we were back." I stood my ground, my voice calm but cold. "I waited years. You didn't." Dad's jaw tightened. "We were helping you. That money wasn't stolen. It was for the family. You'll get it back." I shook my head. "No, I won't. And that's not the point." Walt shuffled in from the hallway, leaning on his cane, his eyes steady despite his frail frame. He didn't speak at first, just watched, like he was measuring the room. Mom turned to him, her voice softening, manipulative. "You're being manipulated, Dad. She's twisting this against us." Walt's gaze didn't waver. "You took everything," he said, his voice quiet but cutting. Rose's just naming it. The room went still. Mom blinked, like she couldn't process his words. Dad opened his mouth, but no sound came. "You were reckless," I said, stepping closer. "And you made it our problem." Mom's voice cracked, desperate. "How can you be so cold? After all we've done?" I looked at her, really looked, and saw someone who still thought love meant control. "This isn't revenge," I said. "It's responsibility, the kind you never showed us." Walt's hand brushed mine, a small gesture that felt like armor. They stood there, strangers in a house I'd fought to keep standing. For the first time, it felt like mine, not theirs, not anymore. 2 weeks later, I helped Walt settle into Willow Creek. The staff greeted him by name, like he was already family. His room had a wide window overlooking a garden, a recliner where he could read his crosswords, and a small shelf for the photo of Grandma he'd kept by his bed since I was a kid. I brought groceries on my visits, sometimes just sitting to hear his stories about fixing cars or fishing with me when I was little. "I don't miss the house," he said one day, his voice soft. "Just the quiet parts." I nodded, knowing exactly what he meant. Mom and Dad didn't call. Kaylee stayed silent, probably chasing likes on her latest post. I heard the house went on the market a month later, the listing boasting great bones, needs updates. I didn't argue with that. Some nights, I picked up extra shifts at the diner, squirreling away tips in a new account no one else could touch. Others, I sat on my apartment floor in Portland, papers spread out, planning a life I finally owned. No more carrying their chaos. No more pretending it was love. One morning, on my way to work, I drove past the old house. A for sale sign tilted in the yard, the windows dark, the porch still sagging where Dad swore he'd fix it. I didn't stop, but I smiled. Some houses aren't homes, and some families teach you what to leave behind. I'd built something better, not just for Walt, but for me. A life where trust wasn't a debt, and love didn't come with strings. To everyone who's followed this story, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, battles, and the kind of strength you find when everything else falls away. If my journey hit you in the heart, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every story we tell is about picking up the pieces, standing tall, and finding your own way home. Keep fighting for your truth, and I'll meet you at the finish line.